This is the Guided Podcast, an interview with the fly fishing industry's top guides and brand ambassadors. On this podcast, we cover topics such as the guiding lifestyle, conservation, different fisheries globally, and gear and technology to improve your game. I'm your show host, Greg Keenan. Before we begin today's show, let's thank our sponsors. Scientific Anglers is the leader in producing the world's best fly lines for over 75 years. Scientific Anglers have set new industry standards with their SA Amplitude family of fly lines, both in technology and performance. See the difference for yourself today at scientificanglers.com. Show your show support and follow us on Instagram at Fly Fishing Insider Podcast. Now let's begin. Welcome to Guided. Today's guest, Josh Jenkins. Josh is the R&D manager for Scientific Anglers. Here today to tell us more about what's new for Scientific Anglers. Josh, welcome to the show.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, buddy. Good. Glad you're back. So, I know we had talked a bit about before about what's new for 21 regarding lines and stuff. So now let's jump into the other side of Scientific Anglers. So leaders, tippets, anything else fun and funky?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know, we've been kind of discussing maybe going over a little bit of, our marketing behind leader and tippet in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So maybe it would be good to kind of give a little bit of a quip sort of on how we select our material and how we qualify it and what ultimately makes it into our assortment.
You bet.
So Scientific Anglers, this has probably been beat to death for anybody who's been paying attention to it, but probably worth restating. So whenever we go out and select or source a new leader or tippet material, our number one qualification criteria is wet knot strength. And what we see, there's obviously a little bit of confusion between wet knot strength and what you actually see on a tippet label. And a good example of this would be our new Supreme Fluorocarbon that's coming out for this year.
Yeah.
So this is the strongest fluorocarbon we've ever sold. It has a very high tensile strength. But it's not as high as you would expect, sort of, if you were looking at it in comparison to what we have in absolute. But the problem is that when, I actually personally kind of hate the fact that we have to list straight tensile strength on the label for a tippet spool, because it's almost essentially meaningless in a fishing situation. When you're fly fishing, when you're angling in general, anytime you're using monofilament, it's never in a situation where it's not wet and there's not a knot somewhere in it, right? Yeah. So that's why we use wet knot strength as sort of our qualification criteria. And our new fluorocarbon, what we're calling Supreme Fluorocarbon specifically, has the highest wet knot strength of any material that we've seen, and it's 30% higher wet knot strength than our current absolute fluorocarbon.
You just made something better.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool material. It's actually it comes in two layers, so it's still 100% fluorocarbon, but it has a dual layer construction. So if you think about it, it's almost kind of like a fly line in that regard. It has a core running through the center of it, and that core is a little bit harder fluorocarbon. Yeah. And then on the outside, sort of as a jacket, there's a little bit softer fluorocarbon. And what that does is you have a nice hard core layer that gives you tensile strength. But that outside sort of cap layer helps knots seat better. So it helps them kind of cinch down, but also hold a lot better. And so by, playing with the thickness of those two layers, essentially, or the outer layer and the core, you can optimize the knot strength. And so that's kind of how that came to be. It's our first time ever selling sort of a dual construction monofilament, anything, nylon or fluorocarbon.
Cool. I love it. So you guys, and are you taking that over into the leader world as well?
We may. Actually, it's interesting. Right now, it's not available in leaders. So we're working through that. Hopefully it will eventually. We actually, from a sales perspective, we sell a ton more nylon leaders than we do fluorocarbon. I think most trout anglers especially will just use a nylon leader with fluorocarbon tippet.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Yeah.
most of the demand for fluorocarbon is in the tippet, at least.
Yep, makes sense for sure. So, what else is new in the lines or in the leader tippet kind of world?
Yeah. So we're also offering guide spools now of our current absolute program. So you can get in select sizes, you can get like our absolute nylon or absolute fluorocarbon in 100-meter spools rather than just the 30-meter. So great value there. Also lasting longer. You're not going through as many spools or as many bands. So it's a little bit environmentally friendly, more environmentally friendly from that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a bunch of people in our guide community that are just like, I burned through this stuff so quickly, I need more. So we have guide spools of absolute nylon and absolute fluorocarbon.
So this is good because up here when we indicate our fish, like in the Stillwater where I'm based out of, we don't really use a leader too much. More so we just use straight up like fluoro, tapering down, right? Like with the swivel tapering down. Which I know you guys have those micro swivels. Where I'm going to go with that though is what's the weight that the fluoro starts in for the guide spools?
I think it starts even the heaviest size.
Yeah, like lightest
or the lightest size.
Lightest to heaviest.
Oh, lightest to heaviest. Want to say here I've got it right in front of me.
Yeah, no
6x to 0x on fluorocarbon. So you can get it in either of those, any of those sizes from 6x to 0x, and then the nylon is restricted, I think, from 3x to 6x.
Nice. Well, that's good. That's going to be a huge opening for you guys, and I know you're pushing forward. You're going to sell a ton of that. I think it's the best bang for your buck.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, especially you Stillwater guys, I think are using pretty long lengths of it at a time, especially if you're fishing deep. So from that regard, it makes a lot of sense too.
When you got an 18-foot leader on, you're going through a lot of it in a quick time. So
yeah.
So that's game changing for us Stillwater guys, and I wanted to point that out because my Stillwater community that is listening, that's something that we've been kind of crying for years. So definitely happy for that. What else do you guys have?
For the dry fly angler, we have a Trout Stealth Finesse leader that's coming out this year. So when we launched Absolute 2 years ago, when I did the leader tapers, I wanted to update all the butt diameters to kind of better match modern fly line design. So over the years, I can certainly say it's true for SA lines. I would say, it's also probably true for competitive lines. Tip diameters of fly lines have been kind of getting bigger and bigger in an attempt to make them more aggressive and to make them float higher. In my mind, the tapers of leaders didn't really follow suit though. So what we did is we optimized the butt diameters of all of our leaders to the application and to the fly lines that you typically use in that application to try to get the smoothest energy transfer from line to leader. And in that regard, we were successful, but we did also, I think, kind of miss a niche of fly fishermen that enjoy doing more finesse style fly fishing, especially with really lightweight fly lines. So our Stealth Finesse leader in the Absolute program kind of fills that gap and gives the angler an option if they want to go with something that's intentionally light in a leader.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. And it's funny, I never thought of that. Like the lines have increased, but the diameter of the leader hasn't until now.
Yeah.
I
mean, the way I was taught it was, theoretically you want the same mass at the end of your fly line, or the last foot of your fly line as the first foot of your leader butt. So it's all about sort of matching up the mass of your leader to the mass of your fly line.
Cool. Josh, what is there any other products or anything like that you need that you'd like to highlight or mention that Scientific Anglers has coming down the pipe for us?
Yeah, one that I'm personally pretty excited about is we have a new tippet holder this year. We're calling it the Switch Tippet Holder, and it's essentially a cast aluminum body that's powder coated. It's available in 4 different colors, holds up to 8 of our spools. And it's got kind of a cool, like, wire carabiner style closure that makes it super light. And we called it the Switch Tippet Holder because you can actually change the way it hangs. So there's 2 hang points on the body of the tippet holder itself, and it comes with a S-shaped carabiner. So if you want to, mount it horizontally, you can. If you want to mount it vertically, you can. If you want to mount it and then use the other point to sort of lash it to a bag so it's not swinging around, you have that option as well. But it's also because we have sort of that wire closure that's pretty, it's a lot lighter than if it was a full aluminum cage. Mm-hmm. It's very lightweight, especially compared to what else is out on the market right now.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. It looks like a great product, and I know we're dying to do a review on that as well. So, Josh, you guys have lots of good things going on over there. It's been fantastic with you guys, definitely. And I just want to know, if there's anything that if you can give us any sneak peeks of anything coming down the pipe, on anything that you think might be worth mentioning.
Yeah, I would say definitely keep an eye on our leader program coming up. Leader and tippet, I guess both. We're going to keep trying to have a big push there. We feel really confident in the technology of our fly lines and feel like we have a lot to bring to the table on the leader and tippet side to make your angling as pleasurable as possible and to make sure you land more of those big fish. So I would say keep an eye on that. And then, like the tippet holder, things like that specifically. We've got some great feedback there. So, keep an eye out for more accessories that are tailor-made to fly lines, leader, and tippet.
Perfect. Love it. So, Josh, I'm going to ask you if there's any parting words that you have for the audience.
No, I appreciate you listening. Hope everybody is staying healthy and staying on the water.
Definitely. So, all right, Josh, I want to thank you for being a guest today, and audience, I want to thank you guys as well.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, guys. You've been listening to the Guided Podcast, sponsored by Scientific Anglers. If you like this podcast episode, please let us know and leave a review on your favorite podcast listening platform. And remember, subscribe to the Fly Fishing Insider podcast to get even more episodes of both Guided and the Fly Fishing Insider each week. See more at flyfishinginsiderpodcast.com.